win, his first on the season.
Yeah, he has to be in full attack mode from this point forward in the championship, with Daskalo sweeping at Long Beach with George not there. Obviously, it dug a big hole for him in the points, but he did it right yesterday. The car was rock solid. He had the pole, took off. Daskalo's kept it close in the early phase, but George just had too much for him. Johnny O'Connell, what a great battle he had with that man right there in our frame, Rothberg, and got the final podium spot, so he keeps himself in championship contention. But as an early start, hopefully everyone's espressoed up and ready to go.
That was in the SRO 3 class. Of course, 3 classes here. We'll talk about them as we go through the starting lineup. George Kurtz had the fastest lap of the race yesterday. That puts him on the row of pole position next to championship leader Jason Daskalos. Johnny O'Connell and Justin Rothberg, their duel resumes anew today. They start 3rd and 4th ahead of Mirko Schultes and Ross Schwest starting in the 6th spot. Jason Bell from the Flying Lizard stable starts 7th. Tim Savage alongside Kyle Washington set to start out back of the SRO 3 class. The lone GT2 entrant this weekend is Alan Grossberg. He'll start 10th overall. Then to the GT4 field, Isaac Sherman, a perfect 5 for 5 on the season, starts next to Kurtz Swearingin, a winner in Pirelli GT4 America yesterday. Gray Newell and Nick Shanny back in row number 7. And on the 8th row of the grid, starting by himself, Todd Marriott in his Aston Martin Vantage AMR GT4. That's how they'll line up here at this historic circuit. 3.7 miles, 17 turns in length, and at Sebring, it's always about those bumps.
It is. I love this track, just so much character. It hasn't changed over 70-odd years here. And as you look at the configuration, you got 17 turns to get through. Some really challenging ones. The first corner and the last corner, I feel, are 2 of the most demanding corners in all of North America. Really high speed, really bumpy, particularly 17 Sunset Bend. I mean, you really rock and roll through that corner, so it's all about keeping that tire in contact with the pavement, which is tough to do here.
This place first hosted racing back on New Year's Eve day of 1950, and since then the history has just piled up, and some new history made yesterday with some thrilling racing, of course, across all of the SRO classes. But without a doubt, Johnny O'Connell and Justin Rothberg's duel yesterday got everyone's attention. This was the fight for 3rd in SRO 3. They came and caught some GT4 runners also fighting for position. This was just hair-raising stuff, Calvin.
It really was. Rothberg just cuts through the inside of turn 6. Johnny O thought he'd going to have that position if he just escaped around the outside of those GT4 cars. It was incredible racing.
Before we start this race, quickly down to the pit lane and Amanda Busick. Good morning, Amanda.
Hey guys, yeah, and that is exactly the words from Johnny O'Connell. He said that was so cool, and actually talking to Justin Rothberg as well, both of them thought that they had made the perfect pick on each other when they split those GT4 cars, and to see the Audi, to see the BMW, they were both surprised of how each of them did that. But Johnny O'Connell had big praise for Justin Rothberg, said he's going to be a force in this class and looks forward to getting to race day in Sebring. Yeah,
fantastic battle. Great respect shown by the pair of them post-race, and we get to do it again here on Sunday morning in Sebring. Here comes the field through the final corner. On the row of pole position, George Kurtz in the crowd strike by Riley Mercedes. He has the field of SRO 3 and GT2 cars in tow, approaching the VP acceleration zone. There's the green flag, top left of the screen, and we are racing in Central Florida. Kurtz and Daskalos in a drag race down to turn number 1. Kurtz clears Daskalos. That opens the door for O'Connell to slip up the inside in the white Audi. The battle is on for 2nd. In the meantime, the GT4 class now coming to its start. And it's Isaac Sherman in the blue Porsche on pole position next to Kurtz Swearingin, who's had a great weekend here at Sebring. The pair of Porsches drag racing into turn number 1. Sherman is able to take that lead ahead of Swearingin. Gray Newell settles in the 3rd spot.
Yeah, Perry had a look down the inside of Shanny there. Can't make that move. Nice clean start in both classes. Kurtz has the lead. And Johnny O'Connell, Daskalos got back around him there, so they went side by side there through turn 1, but Daskalos must have got his elbows out and maintained P2.
There's Mirko Schultes in the Callaway Corvette running 5th on the road, looking like he might have designs on taking 4th away from Justin Rothberg here in the early stages. 40-minute single driver sprint race here in GT America powered by AWS. So it's go, go, go from the drop of the green flag, and at the front of the field, that's exactly what George Kurtz has done. He's got a reasonable advantage, about 2 car lengths over Jason Daskalos.
It's like Schwester is starting to put the pressure on Schultes there a little bit. There's Tim Savage, had a bit of a rough day yesterday. Looks to rebound here and just have a nice clean run.
Tough weekend for that group. They've had some mechanical issues, had to do some repairs after incident in testing on Thursday, but they're back up and running. And Tim looking to bounce back here on what is effectively his home track.
Schwester really putting the pressure on Mirko there. Mirko just loves to race. This is adopted new home. Lives in the Sarasota, St. Pete area, so just up the road here in Florida. Had some issues with that Callaway Corvette earlier in the weekend. Lost a lot of practice time, but they've got the car running, fortunately, for both races now.
And as usual for Mirko Schultes, he was coming on strong late in the race yesterday. So look at Ross Schwest, former GT4 champion in this series. Kyle Washington behind at number 32, and Kyle is looking very aggressive here, trying to plot a course past the Ross Schwest machine.
Looks to the inside. I'm not sure if he's got alongside his flank. Forces it down at the inside, late on the brakes. Had an incident here in turn 1 in practice the other day. That does not intimidate him. Nice move there by Kyle Washington, up on the wheel early in this race.
That's right, because of that incident, they've had to use this chassis for both this race, this series, as well as Fanatec GT. That was not the plan coming in, but Kyle Washington doing a nice job. Had an incident in the race yesterday, too, where he got some wing damage, and that cost them a good result. At the front of the GT4 field, here are these two Porsches. Isaac Sherman, in his first season of GT racing, has yet to be headed. He's won all 5 races he's started, and look, he's leading again.
He is, but Kurt Swearingin is keeping him honest. He grabbed the lead early yesterday, but Sherman got wrestled his way by the end of the first lap. But I think Swearingin's on a different level this year. I spoke to Kai Van Berlo, who he actually shared a car with yesterday for a Pirelli GT4 win. So that will give him a lot of confidence overnight, and he's come out really strong here this morning. And he's closed in on our leader here as we get down into turn 7.
Blue car is Sherman. Swearingin in that machine, the green and white car from his own squad, ACI Motorsports, based in Chattanooga, Tennessee. And you're right, that car looks really hooked up here in the early stages. Closes in, almost got to the bumper there of Sherman in the braking zone.
Yeah, it looks like he can really go deep on the brakes. The platform is right there, whereas it looks like Sherman's kind of floating into the entry. To wait and see if the tires start to come in a little bit for Sherman. He certainly was very impressive in the latter stages of the race yesterday. Looked vulnerable at the beginning, then kind of took off a little bit.
This is the order in which they finished yesterday, first and second. For Swearingin, it was his second podium of the season, best results of the year. Previous best having been 3rd place in the first race at Long Beach just a couple of weeks ago.
He's really ramped up a notch for this year, I feel.
Back to the SRO 3 field, George Kurtz leads. Just set the CrowdStrike fastest lap of the race and has built his gap, as you can see, up to nearly 2 seconds over the points leader, Jason Daskalos. For CRP Racing, Johnny O'Connell looking pretty strong here in the early going. He's in the Ski Autosports Audi. And then it's Rothberg just behind for Turner with that beautiful BMW.
Certainly, Kurtz, just like yesterday, this car seems to be working really well. They don't seem to have the pace like George is displaying here with his GT America car in Fanatec GT. So it's ironic that you'll be under the same tent with the supposedly identical cars, but George's car in GT America here seems to be really hooked up. Was dominant yesterday and looking really comfortable here in the early laps.
Of course, we'll see him and that team in the Fanatec GT race later on this morning. Colin Brown, his co-driver there, where they are the reigning Pro-Am champions. Had a rough day yesterday, penalty at the start in a race that ran clean, and that really cost them a chance to show just how strong they were. Ultimately finished 5th in that race, but Kurtz won here in GT America yesterday, his first victory of the season in this series. And that was a big boost for the former series champion, who's on the back foot after missing the 2 races in Long Beach.
Yeah, and he takes this championship very seriously. You think a lot of these drivers use it as kind of a warm-up if they are pulling double duty with Fanatec GT as well. But George wants this championship. He said, I've got a lot of points to make up, and he's doing it the right way. He's just going out and attacking as a really strong race car, which helps. But look at this battle for P3. Johnny O'Connell is feeling the heat from that BMW. It looks like the BMW is a little bit stronger down Ullman straightaway. Now Rothberg tucks it to the inside. Johnny O, Mr. Sebring, we call him, 8-time winner here at the Sebring 12 Hour.
That's right. And Justin Rothberg is on the complete end of the opposite end of the experience spectrum in just his first season of GT3 racing, and yet here he is putting the pressure on it. 8-time Sebring 12-hour winner.
Yeah, he is, and the BMWs look very good here this weekend. Justin's done a really nice job under the tutelage of Robbie Foley this year. He's co-driving with the Infanatec GT, so Robbie will be on the radio with him, talking him through this scenario. Robbie said the other night that something really clicked this week overnight. Justin found a nice chunk of time, and he's demonstrating that here.
Check this out. CrowdStrike fastest lap of the race to Kyle Washington. Last we saw him, he was battling with Ross Schwest for the 6th spot and took that position. Now he's caught this train and is putting the pressure on Mirko Schultes.
Well, he had the fastest lap at Long Beach, if you recall, Ryan, so he's got speed this year, and I think Tom Sargent, who he co-drives with, really got Kyle dialed in. He takes it very, very seriously. He's getting a lot of seat time this year and is showing in terms of his pace.
His finish on the year, just a 5th in race 1 at Long Beach, but you're right, that second race in Long Beach, he did have the fastest lap of the race and appears to have taken the next step in unlocking the pace in these GT3 cars.
Yeah, he's looking really racy here this morning. I think the key for Kyle is now he's untapped some of that speed, is just to really focus on being consistent, not making those little errors like he did in practice the other day. He'll be honest with himself, he realized he got to clean up a little bit of his game, but really got a lot of pace. That's the main thing. If you got speed, you got a big run there through 16. Here he comes.
Yeah, big head of steam for Kyle Washington in the white Porsche. Right now, sitting in the slipstream behind the Callaway Corvette. Maybe it looked like he caught that Corvette just at the wrong time, had to check up, lost some of that momentum because it was looking very, very promising as they entered the Ullman Straight. Ultimately, though, Washington has to settle back in line and start the challenge again.
Like Daskalos has found a little bit of pace. He's escaped the attention of Johnny O'Connell. He's getting really close to Kurtz there as Rothberg continues to harry O'Connell down into turn 1. Here comes Washington as well.
Good fights here on the track. 3rd and 4th up for grabs. So too for 5th and 6th. Schultes running 5th in that Mothers-sponsored Corvette. Quite possibly the oldest car on site here this weekend.
Oh, Washington's wide.
Yep.
Just really took a ton of speed into turn 5, and those are those things he's got to tidy up we just alluded to, Ryan.
He'll gather it back in and set off in pursuit once more of Schultes. Which now leaves us to focus in on this battle, and we were hoping it would look like it did yesterday when these two were side by side using the GT4 traffic late in the race in spectacular fashion. And I said it yesterday, I'll say it again, when Johnny O'Connell comes out and says, you know, this is an impressive young driver with a bright future, that is high, high praise for Justin Rothberg.
Yeah, really classy comments from Johnny. Oh, I love that. He knows what Justin is trying to do, early phases of his career, so to give him those accolades, that'll be a nice boost for the young man.
Justin has finished 4th 3 straight races. Yet to stand on the podium in this series, was on the podium yesterday in Infanatec GT, but in a single driver format where it's up to him to deliver, he's yet to be on the podium here in SRO. He was awfully close yesterday. It was only in the final few minutes that 3rd place changed hands. Just past the 10-minute mark into this race. More now from the pits with Amanda Busick.
Talk about how Justin Rothberg is just finding his footing here this weekend at Sebring. He kind of confirmed the same thing, saying that he jumped into the deep end back at Sonoma. But you think of a track that may just fit a certain style of a driver. Justin said that he's just loves the place, loves the history place, that he finds that the ruggedness of the track is rewarding, and he finds that the layout is flowy. So I wonder if there's something to that. Can a driver come more into their own at a track that they're enjoying?
I think it's like a golfer, just like in a particular course, it just fits their eye, and it's the same thing with drivers. You come to a certain circuit, you just either feel at home or you don't. I mean, the bumps are so intimidating here. One thing I will say with the kind of suspension systems and how advanced they've gotten over the years, the bumps have been softened a little bit. The bumps are still there, but the suspension systems ease that way over those bumps and makes it a little bit more comfortable for the drivers. So I think the Turner car is dialed in, they're giving him confidence, and if you got the grip, you can start to love this place.
4th and 5th here in GT4. That's what we're taking a peek at. Nick Shandy holds the spot. Tom Perriott sits 5th, just behind. And these two traded 4th and 5th between themselves several times yesterday. It was a great battle between the two.
It really was, and Todd Perry obviously low in terms of the experience level at this form of racing, and Nick Shandy was seeing him compete now. I think this is his 3rd year, and he's really made great gains from where he started initially. He's under the tutelage of Terry Borschella, who he co-drives with in Pirelli GT4, but here comes Perriott looking for a way by, and just Nick Shandy just held station right down the middle of the road and made it a little bit intimidating to try and force the way down at the inside.
Shandy came out on top in this duel yesterday, but it's picked right back up. Perriott late on the brakes, and he sides through, grabs the 4th spot. Now what will Shandy do?
Yeah, it's a good little dice here because Nick was certainly being proactive in terms of his line down the front straightaway, and then thought he had it down into turn 3, but saw that Todd had committed and gave him a little bit of racing space, and they'll re-continue this battle, I feel.
Really nicely done. Of course, these were the two.
Oh, that's late.
Shandy late on the brakes. Gets it wound up in time and settles back in. These were the two, though, that were scrapping amongst themselves when O'Connell and Rothberg came through yesterday and gave us those spectacular shots.
Yeah, they seem to have been tied at the hip here for 2 races now, but it's a good little battle. But you see moments like that. That's where the experience kicks in. You have to be a bit more subtle with those moves rather than just, oh, I'm going to do this. Do you know what I mean? You got to feel the moment a little bit more.
Part of the learning curve, and that's part of what this series is here for, to get additional seat time in preparation for jumping into a multi-driver race format. By the way, Jason Dascalos just turned in the new CrowdStrike fastest lap of the race, and he is reeling in slowly but steadily the CrowdStrike car of George Kurtz.
Yeah, I spoke to Nick Short the other day during the practice day here on Friday, and they said the car really didn't seem to be working very well in the heat, but he said Jason tends to overdrive it a little bit, and he said, I just got to keep him underneath that threshold, and he said, I think we'll be good. He was forecasting we will be better in the cooler conditions for race 2 on Sunday. This is the race we're into right now, of course, so they anticipated that their car may work well in these conditions, but Kurtz is going to be tough to beat. Yes, Dascalos has that fast lap right now and has got a little bit closer, but Kurtz looks really comfortable sitting up front.
Only one finish off the podium this year for Dascalos. That was a 6th in the 2nd race at Sonoma. Here's a look at our race vision powered by AWS. You can see the different sectors, 3 sectors around this track. 3 different cars had the best sector times. So Sector 1 belongs to the Porsche of Washington. Sector 2 belongs to the Mercedes of Dascalos, and then it's George Kurtz that's strongest in that final run to end the lap.
Thinking about that time off the podium for Dascalos, that was with the drive-through penalty, if you recall, for some contact there with Rothberg at Sonoma, as I recall. So I think he could have easily been on the podium every single race without that penalty call that race.
New CrowdStrike fastest lap. George Kurtz takes the honor back, 2:03.6. So now he got 3/10 back on Dascalos in that battle for the lead. The middle sector, though, this was the fastest car the last time by. Johnny O'Connell, who suddenly finds himself with a lot less pressure from behind. He's built a bit of a gap now, 0.8 of a second over Justin Rothberg.
Yeah, and if you recall yesterday, Johnny O's car didn't come to life early in the going. It was about 5-6 laps in yesterday when he suddenly seemed to find some pace. So maybe it just takes a little bit of time to get that car into its sweet spot with the pressures. There's Rossella Manfrenato, who's the engineer for Johnny O with Ski Autosport, just looking at the progress here, looking at the times, analyzing, regarded as one of the best engineers we have in the SRO paddock.
Mercedes, Audi, BMW, Corvette. There in the background, you can see the Porsche of Washington starting to close back in on Mirko Schultes. Had that error a few laps ago, but as expected, he settled back in and found the pace once more.
Yeah, and we talked about Washington having that CrowdStrike fastest lap early. He's reset his best, and he's only a 10th off of Kurt's fastest lap, so that GMG Porsche has a ton of pace here this weekend.
Busy operation, GMG racing here this weekend, but also supporting Carrera Cup drivers down in Miami in support of the Grand Prix.
I think Washington had thoughts about pulling double duty, but it just seemed like the race times wouldn't work for him this weekend. So he's doing double duty here, and he thought about doing Miami Carrera Cup as well, but couldn't quite work it out.
Elected to focus on his efforts here in Sebring instead. Calvin, you talked often about this corner, Sunset Bend, turn 17, the challenge that it presents. What makes it such a difficult corner?
Well, it's really the bumps that makes it, takes it to a whole new level. It's a very demanding corner anyway. You're coming through there. It's really high-speed approach. These cars are touching just on 160 miles an hour as you go to that middle pedal. Kind of diagonal line, straight line braking in, and then it's all about that transition through underneath the bridge. You want to get a lot of the turn out of the car so you're not coming through those bumps with steering in the car, because as you have that, suddenly if the rear gets a little bump, or jump, should I say, it's going to loosen up, and then you're trying to catch the car on exit, and then you're really playing chicken with that outside concrete wall as well. So there's no easy face to that corner whatsoever.
Here is Washington starting to stalk Mirko Schultes, showing his nose to the inside in the braking zone, but not close enough to pull alongside. Washington on the last lap reset the Crown Strike fastest lap of the race, by the way. The only driver barring Rothberg in the 2:03s. Rothberg was only 15 thousandths off of Washington's time, so that's why the gap between O'Connell and Rothberg has come down so dramatically. Although, as I say that, it looks like O'Connell has legged out the advantage again. But Washington is perhaps the man on the move here at this stage in the race. Runs 6th, trying to take 5th away from Mirko Schultes.
Yeah, Schultes is pretty stoic, isn't he? He's just got so much experience. He doesn't seem to be phased or rattled by this pressure from Washington behind. There's talk that we might not see much of Mirko this year. Did the 2 West Coast races, and this is his home race, but we'll see what happens at this point forward. He also runs a prototype program in a different championship here in North America.
Be a shame to see him go. Great character, and this car is a fan favorite. C7-based Callaway Corvette. Brainchild of Reeves Callaway, much missed in motorsports circles. Here we go. This is Alan Grossberg in the GT2 class. Had 5 cars on the grid at Long Beach. Unfortunately, just the one here this weekend, but there is significant hope for more over the course of the year. Alan with a very interesting weekend here, because not only is he running this beautiful Lamborghini Huracan, he's also running a front-wheel drive Mini in TC America in the lowest class there. So as we've talked about a number of times, that effectively means he's in the most high-powered class and the lowest-powered class here on site in Sebring.
You could literally go through our paddock and say, okay, I want to pick the 2 cars that are the most opposed in terms of their spec and performance, and he grabbed both of them, I think.
Pretty cool, though. Sign of how passionate he is to be doing this. Let's check back in with Isaac Sherman and Kurtz Swearingin. Swearingin still there, keeping Isaac honest. Really no significant breathing room for Isaac, although he is under somewhat less pressure than when we saw him last.
Yeah, their best laps are within a 1/10 of a second of one another, so great weekend for Kurtz Swearingin here. He's really taken it to a new level in 2024, and I think that bodes well for this championship. Yeah, I mean, Sherman's looking for his 6th straight win, but nonetheless, I think Swearingin could keep him honest on a race-by-race basis.
That was the Rotec Racing Brain Trust we were looking at a moment ago. Left of the screen was Rob Holland, who will be driving for this team. It is his team in Pirelli GT4 America at the end of the day today. There's Rob. So much experience in everything from British touring cars to 24 hours of the Nürburgring, and then in recent years here as well in the SRO America paddock. All right, leaders starting to hit some traffic. This is the Perriot-Shanny battle that the leaders are coming through. We saw this create some fireworks yesterday. We'll see what happens here. Looks like Kurtz caught that traffic in a pretty favorable manner. Daskalos will need to get this taken care of here in turn 3, and he does.
That was important, otherwise he's going to lose a big chunk of time there to the leader, George Kurtz.
O'Connell and Rothberg will be next. And again, they caught these cars at about this part of the track yesterday and decided to make it 4 wide.
Washington on the hammer once again. He's got that crowd strike fast lap. Last lap across the stripe was only a 10th off of that best. Johnny O just sneaking through the traffic. A little bit cleaner run than yesterday. We saw those off-course excursions for he and Rothberg.
Now with 4 cars side by side, I mean, ideally you'd have 16 tires on the pavement, but I think we only had 12 yesterday.
I like it, yeah.
At any given point. It was breathtaking. But that's what multi-class racing is all about.
Watch Washington here. He's going to look for an opportunity as Schultes tries to deal with this traffic. Nice job there by Mirko.
Absolutely.
Car's got just really key on a good clean exit. Ooh, tried to turn and accelerate at the same time and nearly lost the rear.
Schultes around Perriot. Washington will try to do the same. Wow. Love to have an onboard shot from Perriot.
On the edge, pushing, pushing, pushing.
That was something else.
He is a brave boy.
Yeah. Oh, and look at that. I think that cost Perriot a little bit of momentum, so here comes Nick Shanny. I tell you what, these two have been locked together all weekend. It's been fantastic. Keep an eye in the background here. The 2 GT4 cars, Shanny in the BMW, Perriot in the Aston. They are even entering the braking zone for 17. Battle for 4th and 5th in GT4. Here's the overall leader, George Kurtz. 2.2 seconds over Daskalos. Then it's another 1.8 back to O'Connell. Rothberg less than a second back of O'Connell in 4th. Schultz go back to back. Can he get back into the championship hunt?
Yeah, it's huge. It's a big swing from 1st to 2nd, 7 points. So those 50 that he lost by not being at Long Beach to Daskalos, who swept there. You know, with Daskalos finishing 2nd, it's still going to eat into that margin by, we're looking at 14 points. So it's a decent swing. He's got to basically do that for 3 weekends in a row to get back on task.
Kurtz came in 53 points back, took 7 off of that yesterday to get it down to 46. If it finishes as they run, he could be within 39 points. Let's take a look again at that lurid slide from Kyle Washington. He had a couple of interesting moments in this sequence here, but tell us what happened here, Cal.
Well, right there, he's kind of turning and got power full down, so he nearly loses the rear there, and then he sees this traffic up ahead. He sees Mirko go through, and then that's just total commitment here, and basically shortcuts the road a little bit, and then launches it over that bump and collects it, and then he's got a ton of speed. Now they're side by side. This is live as we're looking at this action once again. But Mirko just keeps him at bay. That's the corner where he really cut through there, so he'll probably get away with that once. He didn't take advantage in terms of making an overtake there, but if he did it with an overtake, the stewards may ask him to give it back, so they're certainly going to keep an eye on that.
Right, past an out-of-class car, but nothing for position. Haven't seen any announcement from race control about that, so that would seem to indicate play on. This is, again, 5th and 6th in SRO 3. Schultes holds the 5th spot with 15 minutes to go and has done a tremendous job withstanding the pressure of Washington. That is Tim Savage with the spin out of turn 16.
I think I hear some life.
Tough weekend for Tim. That team was on the back foot from the beginning of the weekend with some mechanical issues that they've worked through, had to source some spare parts. Thanks to the Heart of Racing team, actually. Was able to pitch in and help them find some spares.
Look at this, Johnny O in the traffic has suddenly got really close to Daskalos here for P2.
Working their way around Gray Newell, who runs 3rd in GT4, but you're right. Here comes O'Connell, putting the pressure on Daskalos now into the hairpin.
His car's gotten stronger and stronger. He's now only a couple of tenths off the fastest lap of the race. The Audi is coming alive.
Well, you called it. That was the tale of the tape from yesterday. O'Connell got stronger and stronger as the race progressed. Kurtz now has a 2.5-second lead over this battle. This is for 2nd and 3rd. George Kurtz right now is a big Johnny O'Connell fan. This would be a big swing in the championship.
Yeah, and let's not forget, Daskalos leads the championship from Johnny O. So Johnny O recognized that I can't keep finishing behind this guy, otherwise that margin is going to balloon. So this is really important. It's only a 3-point swing, but as a result of a 3-point margin, but a 6-point swing if he should get him.
There was a 7-point difference between the two coming into the weekend, and swung back more in Dascolo's favor yesterday, up to 10 points.
Washing to do with this little scenario. Just got a key on. Look at that. He's going to really get on the power early. Oh, just tightens his hands a little bit too much, but keeps it. Didn't get too much of a slide there. Those are the things he's got to recognize, just learn from. You can't just suddenly change the line that much and still use the same amount of power, but he got away with it.
Schultz, with his experience, really working the traffic well. Washington has not been able to use it to create the opportunity to make the pass. And Rothberg, he's in this here too. He continues to close.
Rothberg is not going away. It's the second fastest lap of the race, I believe. There's several guys right around that 203.5, 0.6 mark. As you said, P4 3 times in a row. He'd love to go one step further. There's such a difference in terms of the emotion of finishing 4th or standing on a podium.
That's right. Looking for that first podium in this series. Dascolo's getting a little bit of the heat there from O'Connell into the hairpin. Johnny with so much experience, so much success. We talk about those 8 Sebring wins, one of which was overall, but also a 4-time champion in Pirelli World Challenge in successive years. Back when he was with the Cadillac program.
Look at the different lines that they employ coming through that little sector there. There's a lot of rhythm there, and Johnny O was just eating up a little less road there, so could be more effective as Kurtz gets around Swearingin in a really tricky part of the racetrack through Bishop.
Bit more traffic for the SRO 3 leaders to deal with here in the final quarter of the race in Sebring. Dascalos in the Mercedes, O'Connell in the Audi. This is the battle for 2nd and 3rd. Let's hear a little bit more on the Jason Dascalos story now with Amanda Busick.
We go back to race 1, and I talked to Jason Dascalos afterwards about if he was racing a little conservative considering his points lead and his hope of finally winning a championship in this series. And he said that he, with the performance that he's had this season and the success that he has, he does have that in his pocket. And then Nicholas Short added to the conversation, it's better to win the war, not the battle. But you look at Johnny O'Connell putting the pressure on Dascalos, I imagine that goes out of the window in terms of effort into this race.
Yeah, he'll be fighting, that's for sure, trying to hang on at least to the 2nd spot, and with his closest championship rival behind him.
Yeah, and I think to Amanda's point, certainly Kurtz taking points away from Dascalos doesn't worry him too much, because George, obviously, as we've alluded to, missed Long Beach and took a big hit in the points. But for Johnny O, he recognizes at this point in the season, at least, he is his main contender for that championship title, so he'll do everything he can to keep it behind here.
Well, and of course, as we've talked about all season long, Jason Dascalos has a little extra motivation. His longtime crew chief, Sheldon Miller, battling a cancer diagnosis. He's here, of course, this weekend, as he has been all season long. That's what's made this remarkable run of form for Jason Dascalos all the more special.
Yeah, he's also got Ryan Dial here working with him as a coach. I think Ryan may have jumped in the car the other day. Heard reports of that, didn't confirm that with the team, but nonetheless, I mean, Ryan knows Sebring so well, so much success here over the years, ton of experience at this level, has run with CRP and Nick Shaw. So having him on hand is really important and a great boost to their performance.
As you can see, Kyle Washington has made the pass on Mirko Schultz. He's up to 5th now, and we'll see what kind of pace he has once he's clear of this traffic. Is there time left for him to run down Rothberg? He certainly has shown that he is the quickest driver over a single lap. He has the CrowdStrike fastest lap of the race. There you see the progression for Kyle Washington up through this field.
Really dealt with that traffic really nicely through that little tricky sector. Didn't overdrive it, just got through the GT4 traffic and handled those next couple of corners really nicely. Oh, and now he's deep on the brakes and loses the rear. Schultes is going to bounce.
Here comes Schultes in the Corvette up the inside, and sure enough, the opportunistic Mirko Schultes has taken that position right back.
Well, just as he got that position to look comfortable, and when we're going to sort of look at his lap time, see what he could display. Big moment there in the brake zone for turn 17. That was a little bit strange.
How frustrating is it? You put in all that work to get the position, and you give it right back.
That was bizarre. Looked really comfortable, then suddenly had a big twitch. These cars do have ABS brakes, so should we just got entered it on a slightly different part of the road? We talked about turn 17 and the bumps. I never felt like I got through there 2 laps on the same part of the racetrack in a row. But here we see Johnny O heaping the pressure on Daskalos.
Oh, yeah.
How much does he want it? How forceful will he be here, Ryan? Let's take a look. He is close. This is as close as he's been. Will he force the issue? Daskalos really deep on the brakes. Johnny O takes it to the inside. They almost touch. Clean move. Great move.
O'Connell is through. Move the veteran up into the second spot. Daskalos, the points leader, will have to reset now as he goes in pursuit of O'Connell, and he has to keep in mind that Rothberg has been steadily closing in too with 7.5 minutes to go.
This is huge, and this is exactly what George Kurtz wants to see as well. He'd love Rothberg to knock Daskalos off the podium and gain even more points here today.
Kurtz from the pole position has not been under much pressure for the last 20 minutes or so. Daskalos early on looked like he might have the pace to take the fight to him. In the meantime, Daskalos looks like he struggled off of 16 there.
Does
Here
he have
comes
an issue?
Rothberg. Yeah, I wonder.
Yeah, seems like he's a little off the pace. He overdrove to turn 14 a little bit, but we know that BMW is strong, but that looked too easy to me.
Now Rothberg with the big jump onto the Oldman straight. He sweeps on through. Could he be in line for his first career podium in the series? Oh, and a problem here for Perriot. He's off. Car's still running. Doesn't look like he picked up any damage, at least on this side of the car, so we stay green. Let's check the lap time there. Yeah, Daskalos was, I mean, part of that was the fight he was in. It was considerably slower, but it looks like he's back on the pace now. I agree, though. It seemed like he really had an issue getting off of turn 16.
Yeah, well, he overdrove 14 a little bit. I'm not sure if he got wide and maybe got some pickup on his tires and didn't accelerate off of 16 as cleanly as he normally would, and that made it look dramatic by the time they got to the end of the straightaway. But Johnny always got his head down. I'm not sure he's going to see the tail of George Kurtz before the end of this race. He sits nearly 4 seconds back, but we've still got just under 6 minutes to go. Take a look and see what happened to Perriot here. Yeah, it was down into turn 7. Shanny down to the inside. I think they touched. He may have broken that right front steering arm, possibly. Looked like a minor brush, but suddenly it looked like Perriot's steering went awry.
Man, took a hard turn to the left, so hopefully Perriot's able to find a safe spot. If not, we join the race altogether, and we can stay green here for the final 5 minutes and change. There is that car. I think you're right, Cal. Something must have been broken or damaged.
Yeah, it's just a subtle brush there. I mean, it wasn't super aggressive. They've been racing like that for the last 2 days, but I think it may have just been right at that point of impact. You just catched the wheel wrong, and I think as he was trying to turn right, the left front was turning left to the right, but the right was going straight and forced him off the road, possibly.
What a great result this would be for Justin Rothberg, reigning Ferrari Challenge North America Trofeo Pirelli AM champion. Has a couple of seasons of Ferrari Challenge under his belt. Tried out a bunch of different GT3 cars and settled on the BMW because it fits his tall frame just that little bit better. In the meantime, here we go again with Washington and Schultes. Under 5 minutes to go.
And a new CrowdStrike fast lap by Johnny O, a 2:03.215, 3/10 quicker than Kurtz's best, and on that particular lap, about 2 seconds better as Kurtz was going through some traffic possibly. So that lead has suddenly come down at 2.5 seconds, but time is not on Johnny O's side.
And we'll keep an eye on that. In the meantime, Schultes drops a wheel. Washington swings wide. Washington around the outside of Big Bend. They'll be side by side into the brake zone for turn number 7, where it really tightens up. Oh, and there might be a yellow flag covering this section too. I think I did see one.
Oh, yeah, great point, Ryan. Watching so much in race mode there. He did an awesome job of just taking it in deep on the brakes, probably using the ABS to get to the apex. Here comes Schultes looking for a way by.
Yeah, looking inside, looking outside.
You'd have to feel that car stationary there. There had to be a yellow flag being displayed in turn 7.
Yeah, local yellow simply means no passing until the next corner station without a static yellow being displayed. And I do think I saw one in that shot in that corner, and I agree, just because of the car being there, you have to expect it would be covered by a local yellow. So we will see how that is adjudicated, but for now, Washington does have the position over Schultes.
Got the gap up front, so I'm not sure if Kurtz is just trying to manage this, but on this lap, looked like Johnny O is maybe taking another half a second out of that lead, so it's going to tighten up here across the stripe once again.
2 laps to go as George Kurtz crosses the line with 2 minutes 40 seconds.
Yeah, you can't afford to relax too much. Johnny O is on the charge.
George picked up the pace a little bit, ran a 2:04 flat to Johnny O's 2:03.3.
It's like Johnny is suddenly feeling that the car is giving him what he wants, maybe working with some of the tools inside the cockpit to get it dialed in.
Report from race control, they feel like that pass Washington put on Schultes was complete prior to the yellow flag zone. So
That's
they
a
say
good
it's all
point, because
good.
that would have been right at the apex, and he was probably in front of him, so.
There you see it, Crown Strike fastest lap to O'Connell. 2:03.2. He certainly is closing in on Kurtz here.
Yeah, this is getting a little bit too close for comfort for George Kurtz and for Johnny O. What a huge day it could be. Came into this race, I think we said 10 points back. And right now, as it sits, he's going to gain 6 of those. But if he can get Kurtz, that would potentially give him the championship lead tonight.
Grossberg in the pits with an apparent issue. That's the GT2 machine. TPC Racing in conjunction with Dream Racing running that operation. It'll be the white flag next time by. O'Connell is closing in. He just set the best middle sector of anyone this race. It was 4/10 quicker than than Kurtz through that area of the racetrack. So there's just not enough time at this rate, perhaps, to get there. That's the question. But the white flag waves here at Sebring. George Kurtz looking to go back-to-back and sweep the weekend in GT America powered by AWS. Johnny O'Connell, new Crown Strike fastest lap at a 2:03 flat, 6/10 quicker than the leader, George Kurtz, but the gap is 1.3 seconds with 1 lap to go.
Yeah, he needs 2 laps to do it, and he's only got 1, so it looks like George may have enough to hang on here. He can't afford any mistake or any traffic here. Johnny O has just got the hammer down, just keep clicking off those laps. The car is getting faster and faster as the fuel load is burning off.
Johnny O'Connell, whose image is installed in the Hall of Legends here at this track because of his 8 victories in the 12 hours of Sebring, closing in on George Kurtz here in the final stanza of the race. Last lap, last time through this section. O'Connell continuing to push. Kurtz just put in his best first sector of the race that time through and actually was marginally quicker than O'Connell.
Yeah, he's up to the task. He's looked rock solid here. He's got a ton of confidence with this car this weekend.
Looking smooth, looking solid. The former series champion, George Kurtz.
Seems to have been up to all of the challenge. Daskell has got close to him in the mid-phases of this race. Then he put him to bed, and then suddenly Johnny O has found huge speed with that Ski Autosport Audi. Kurtz is just maintained great rhythm, hitting his marks, no little errors.
Daskalos and Rothberg are within a second, fighting for third and fourth. You can see them in the background, but the leader is George Kurtz. He had to miss the 2 races at Long Beach. It put him on the back foot. He said, look, I'm more confident than I've ever been. We know what we need to do. We can't just get podiums. We need race wins. Well, job well done here at Sebring for George Kurtz, and crowd strike by Riley. They sweep the weekend at Sebring International Raceway. Johnny O'Connell claws back into the championship mix with a second-place run today. Rothberg, his first career podium, comes home in third ahead of Daskalos. In the meantime, further back in the pack, it's Ross Schwest and Jason Bell, drivers that fought amongst themselves for the GT4 title in previous years. Schwest in the Mercedes will head home, the Floridian Jason Bell, for the battle in 7th and 8th in SRO 3. Now we think about the GT4 fight, and what a start to the season it has been for Rotec Racing and Isaac Sherman. First season racing at this level, and he's a perfect 5 for 5, about to make it 6 for 6 through the final turn. Isaac Sherman continues to bat 1,000 in GT America, powered by AWS. He wins race number 2, sweeps the weekend, and remains undefeated on the year.
Incredible. Kurt Swearingin really gave him a run for his money here this weekend, but Sherman is the real deal here. That is impressive to burst into this championship at this level and claim 6 victories. Great battles in both classes here. SRO 3 and GT4, obviously the sole GT2 car running this weekend, but Kurtz had to do exactly what he did. Sweep the weekend, grab those points. With Daskalos off the podium, that's a big, big help.
And as we've seen George do in similar situations in the past, he was told what the situation was. He was told he needed to go on the final lap. He put his best lap of the race in on the final lap.
Yeah, and great to see Jason Bell. Had issues with the car at the start yesterday, and it's early days in his GT3 program, but he ran some really solid laps there in the mid-204 range, so that's encouraging for Jason Bell as he moves forward with his championship charge.
How interesting is it, though, to see he's right there with Ross
Yes.
Schwest again. I mean, they have been going at it the last 3 years in the GT4 ranks, with a couple of championships going Bell's way. Schwest has won in that time period too, and now as they make the step to GT3 together, they're right there locked together again.
Yeah, and I think that's what they anticipate, you know, go battle Ross Schwest and the likes, and both of those guys learn, and then you step up and you start to battle the Kurtzes and the O'Connells for podium spots as well, maybe deeper into the season. Well, we've seen Schwest win on the road already.
True.
He lost that one already at Sonoma, unfortunately.
Yeah, expect big things as the season progresses from both of them. How about it, though? George Kurtz sweeps the weekend. He's right back in the picture as he looks for his second SRO 3 championship. Johnny O'Connell, a runner-up finish, still looking to really put his stamp on one of these races. He does have the one win, but that was because Schwest got that penalty, so he's yet to win on the road, but still racking up those podiums, and Rothberg a first career podium here today in the GT4. It's been the Isaac Sherman show since we started in Sonoma. 6 wins in as many races. Absolutely remarkable. Swearingin and Newell completing the GT4 podium. George Kurtz out of the car. Little shake of the head. We heard the emotion in his voice when he had that win yesterday. We'll see what Sunday's interview holds. I know Amanda Busick is nearby, just waiting on George to get that helmet off. 2 wins here this weekend. A great way to bounce back after missing the Long Beach weekend, Amanda.
And Ryan, he was already a little bit emotional yesterday, so to double up and sweep Sebring. But George, you've been talking about the me against me racing strategy that you go with. At what point did you think it might be me against Johnny O'Connell?
Oh, geez. He didn't make it easy, man. He came on in the end. I thought I had a pretty nice gap, and then all of a sudden he was there. So I just used about every bit of tire, and I'm glad the checker came out. So he made it interesting, and it was really a fantastic race, and great win for the team, and great win overall.
Congratulations on a great weekend.
Thank you.
Kurtz actually set his fastest lap, his personal best lap on the last lap, so he knew he had to dig deep there for that win.
Yeah, we've seen that from him. When the team tells him to go, he goes. And that's something Colin Brown has talked about a lot over the years. I think we can hear from a first-time podium finisher in this championship. Justin Rothberg is with Amanda.
Yeah, Ryan, you can imagine the excitement of the team. I saw your dad even walk over recording you getting out of the car to celebrate the first podium. But what a weekend for you, battling with Johnny O'Connell, today getting the overtake on Jason Daskalos, who's the points leader. Where's your growth, Justin?
I mean, it's a new car. These are mostly new tracks, so I'm learning a lot every weekend. I have a good team behind me, good coach pushing me along, and I think we're going at a great rate.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Rode too much more, he won't fit in the car. He's a pretty tall boy.
I had the same thought, yeah. There's Isaac Sherman, big smile on his face. And Amanda has found him.
Well, Isaac, I have no doubt that this feeling keeps getting better and better, but I want to go back to the beginning of this journey with you from Sonoma to now. You weren't even sure you were going to race a full season. Who are you as a driver?
I mean, I'm just somebody who tries my hardest, honestly, and I really wanted to make the season, but things were just coming together so late, and just somehow everything worked out at the end, and we were able to do the full season, so I'm really happy about that.
Keep enjoying the moment.
Awesome, thank you.
Talk about on a roll, he takes it to a new level, doesn't he?
Unbelievable, 6 straight wins with no experience previously at this level. There's Johnny O'Connell, by the way. Thumbs up from him. Ken Hussey, the team voter there. They'll take another podium. Highlights from the second race of the weekend here at Sebring. It all started with George Kurtz on the Rover pole position. The battle was for the second spot in the early going. Looked like Johnny O'Connell might be able to sneak up there on the inside of Daskalos. Ultimately, Daskalos held him off, but you do wonder how the race might have changed had he made that move. You get the early going. O'Connell was on the back foot, fighting there with Rothberg. Little issue with lap traffic there for Washington, had his hands full, but a nice save. He continued his pursuit of Mirko Schultes. My goodness, full commitment from Kyle Washington. Here's O'Connell on the charge late in the going. That was for second spot. He was able to get around Daskalos, set off in pursuit of George Kurtz, but couldn't quite haul him in, just ran out of time. Kurtz flashes those headlights. He's a winner for the second straight day here in Sebring. Isaac Sherman keeps the streak going. He's won 6 in a row and will take that win streak into the next round of the season coming up in a couple of weeks at Circuit of the Americas.